So I'm here to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the man who was declared out for the rest of the season, Cam Newton. I haven't talked about it on either podcast. We just recorded the Picks podcast, which is just posted earlier today. This will obviously be posted a little bit later. But there was no really, need to speed this up. I kind of wanted to digest Cam being gone for the season, put it into perspective, see what Kyle did going up and winning last week against Tennessee, making us 5-3, 5-1 as a starter. And Kyle has been very impressive. So I'll start there. Kyle Allen has done what we have asked him to do this season. He has. I can't get mad at Kyle at all. I'm happy for what he's been able to do, coming in as a starter, being able to take over for Cam. Kind of makes you question why wasn't he prepared enough last year that we could have actually saved some of Cam's shoulder and maybe had him play later in the season. We were 6-2 at one point last year before Cam's shoulder injury, the TJ Watt hit, and he was never the same. We were never the same. And it was frustrating. It was a frustrating season as a Panther fan because you saw playoffs. We were a top 10 team, top 8 team around this time last year. And we're kind of in the same place again this year, except there's no Cam. The hurt Cam is actually on IR. And it's crazy to think that a foot injury against the Patriots in preseason, where he played, I believe, 2 or 3 drives, he tries to overextend the play. I talked about it, I think, on the NFC over-unders originally. And they said it wasn't that bad. He could get back in. And then Cam Newton goes after that Rams game. Doesn't really look like himself. Does hit some throws. He wasn't awful in the Rams game. And then the Bucs game, he did look really bad after he re-injured his foot. Both games didn't run the ball. Negative rushing yards. The iconic Christian McCaffrey direct snap where Cam's not even involved in the play. As time has gone on, we know more that the foot was a lot worse than we thought. And if you can't plant and you have a shoulder that was just repaired, you're going to be overthrowing your arm and it's not 2012 Cam anymore. So it's been a very difficult situation for Cam over the last season. But the big question, the elephant in the room, $19 million the Panthers can save if they walk away from Cam before next season. So should the Panthers walk away from Cam? The quick answer, the short answer is no. Unless you think Kyle Allen is a franchise quarterback, which although he was a number 1 prospect coming out of high school, I don't see it. I think they've simplified the offense for him. They ask him to do less. Christian McCaffrey has one remarkable run a game. And Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore are developing. That is the reason we took these speed guys to fit into North Turner's offense. So we made the moves to finally build some skilled players around Cam. The offensive line looks a lot better ever since we moved Darrell Williams off of left tackle. He's actually now coming off the bench. He came in as the 6th offensive lineman last week. Dennis Daly has done great. So the line's been better. Running game's been a lot better. And we've simplified the offense. Something we probably should have done the first 2 weeks when Cam was playing through an injury, but that's neither here nor there. The number 0-9 is used way too much. Why am I going to judge Cam on him playing with a bad shoulder where you could see he couldn't throw the ball 30 yards down the field in any of those games? We had the Lions game that we go for it on 4th down, which is still inexplicable considering the shoulder injury Cam had. A lot of close games last year that could have easily put us in the playoffs. But before this 0-9 that every analyst on TV who hasn't watched Panthers game for the past 4 years, they haven't. You see what they say and you can tell they haven't watched Carolina play. You go before that 0-9 streak, the last 25 games Cam was healthy, 17-8. Do you take 17-8 with slightly worse receivers? I think you do. And that's what Cam was before the injury. He actually was pretty hurt last year with the shoulder through the first 8 games and kind of battled through until that injury really got bad. They re-injured after the TJ Watt hit. He wasn't the same. Let's give you some fun Cam Newton stats. Cam Newton right now, all-time leader in career rushing touchdowns for quarterback with 58. That ranks him 4th among active players in terms of rushing the ball. All-time, 11th in yards in terms of active players. He'll be the first player ever, I'm sure, as long as the career's not over, to get to 5,000 yards rushing and 50 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. Not that, the greatness of Lamar Jackson might not break it, but let's wait and see Because as I mentioned in the podcast earlier this week, mobile quarterbacks have a life expectancy. It's not meant to be very long. They are not meant to last without changing their games, which I believe they kind of did with Cam early in last year. They did say they were going to do that for Cam in 2017. Instead, he rushed for 700 plus yards and was the leading rusher in Carolina that season. McCaffrey's first year with us, before McCaffrey got that 10 to 12 pounds of muscle, which has made a world of difference. Obviously, the guy's an MVP candidate this year. But the shitting on Cam, the Carolina's better off without Cam, why? Is it because you don't like the weird garments he wears on his head after games? Do you not like the brimless cap that he took from Outkast, that they kind of did that whole thing? What? Cam has become so not likable to people who don't like bravado, people who don't like an attitude, people who hated the dabbing, even though he dabbed himself all the way to 15-1 and took our team to the Super Bowl with one of the greatest single seasons I've ever seen, with a limited supporting cast whose best receivers were Jericho Cotchery and Ted Ginn and Corey Philly Brown, because Kelvin Benjamin, who's been fucking terrible since he left Carolina, had a 1,000-yard season the year before, but tore his ACL before the season. So, what about Cam as a healthy quarterback has shown you that A, Kyle Allen is a better fit or a better quarterback than a guy who for about 7 consecutive years by his peers was ranked as a top 100 NFL player, right? So, I don't know how we get there. I don't know why people get infatuated. Damian Woody said that Kyle Allen is better than Cam and that the Panthers offense looks better than Kyle Allen. Dame, are you just going off of this season? How about Cam last year when he was 6-2 in the first 8 games? Compare those stats to Kyle's. Kyle's only good games have come against the Tampa Bay Bucks in London and the Arizona Cardinals, who have one of the 5 worst defenses in the league and had Jimmy G have his best game of the season. So let's put things into context. Let's just not be irrational. Look at 0-9, not looking at the context of that 0-9. The same way we look at Kyle Allen's 5-3 and look at the context of the 5-3. After the Super Bowl year, 2016, Dave Gettleman fucked us. He killed our secondary. We barely had a pass rush. So we had a terrible year in 2016. 2017, Cam goes 11-5. We're a Devin Funchess drop away from the second round and beating the Saints, who have become a perennial NFC powerhouse in this second, journey of Drew Brees' success in New Orleans. So I'm just reminding you all that you might be witnessing, or you might have witnessed, because sadly, we probably saw the best days of Cam as a dual threat. It's behind us. But don't forget about his run against Atlanta. Don't forget about the dominance that he showed during that MVP season. His 4,000 yards passing and 14 rushing touchdowns his rookie year. The kid that I was pissed off that Andrew Luck didn't come out of college a year earlier, because that's who I wanted. But guess what? Andrew Luck is gone, and Cam Newton, even though he's missing this season, is still here. He's still trying to get better. He's trying to get healthy again. And at the end of the day, I'm taking the healthy Cam Newton above 22 of the 32 quarterbacks in the league, and we can have a conversation then. Because when Cam has been healthy, he has been a game changer. Now, do we need to maybe have him do a bit less? Definitely less with his legs. Make him be not necessarily Russell Wilson, because he's not the passer Russell Wilson is, but we are going to have to transition the way he plays the game. It can't be the same Cam that killed Alabama, won a national championship with Auburn, won a Rookie of the Year, and won the MVP. You're probably not getting that level of athlete. But what you are getting is still one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the league. Just take a look at the NFL. Look at the quarterbacks playing on Sunday. Look at the quarterbacks that teams are still clinging on to. The Jameis Winstons, the Andy Daltons, the Ryan Tannehills, the Marcus Mariotas. Like, who's out there? Do you really think Kyle's better? Because if you do, I'm sorry, but you're a fucking moron. He's not better than Cam. Now, I hope he finishes the year 11-5 and we make a great run in the playoffs, and then maybe I'm wrong. But Kyle needs to prove me wrong against some real defenses, which he just hasn't done yet. And that's not a knock on Kyle. The kid was undrafted, got benched at University of Houston to a guy who can't even make the Arena Football League, rest in peace, or to the Canadian Football League. But he's persevered, and he obviously has some arm talent, and he knows how to play the position. But for you to give me a guy who was undrafted, and a year ago, anybody could have had him if they wanted to. A year ago, we weren't confident enough in Kyle to play him in games, even though we knew Cam couldn't throw more than 25 yards downfield. That's the guy we're going to pass over the franchise to and just drop Cam to save $19 million and do what? Pick up a cornerback? Are you going to be able to pick up a team good enough to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Allen? No, you're not. You're not. So let's Cam have one more run at this with the best version of Run CMC that I have ever seen. A year more developed, the DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. Let's get him one more possession, taller receiver to put out there. Hopefully Greggy does it for one more year if Cam comes back. And I think there's a real thing there. I think our secondary has been improving. Our defense has gotten better. But the ultimate answer to the question is no. Don't get rid of Cam Newton. The guy has 182 touchdowns passing, 58 rushing, which puts you at 240 total touchdowns, 108 interceptions. Not a bad stat. That's not a bad stat line for Cam. He has 3 11-win seasons in his 8-year career. Rodgers has 4. Russell Wilson has just as many, 3. Phillip Rivers, who's been playing for about 20 years, has 4. And Matt Ryan has 4. But Matt Ryan looks like that might be over for him. So just put into perspective what this guy has done. I understand the punishment. I understand the hits. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be the difference. The difference is if Cam can get his feet back to normal and his shoulder healed, you can't tell me why not run it back one more year if you're not losing anything in the process. If you're going to let Cam walk away, it's fine. Go find your new quarterback. But don't give up a year early because we've seen that backfire in the past. Drew Brees got given up on. Now he's a Super Bowl champ and he's played in, 2 consecutive NFC Championship games looking at a third. I really hate that the sun came up and it's hitting me in the face now, but maybe the light needs to shine on me so I could drive this home. Cam Newton should, and I hope to God will be, the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers in 2020. If not, man, I will buy a few jerseys just to leave in my closet because the dude has really become my favorite quarterback ever to play the game. This right here, whoo, best celebration of all time for me. And then he had to hit him with a little, for a few years, get him with the, I need to see that for one more season. I do. I got to see it. So hopefully we come to our senses. We stop saying the bullshit. Thank you, Dominique Foxworth. Thank you, Ryan Clark, for understanding the dominance of Cam. Maybe because they played defense against him and they saw the threat that Cam was. Not some of these dudes who have seen fucking 5 Panther games in the last 4 years since we got to the Super Bowl, and they're out here talking about Carolina like they watch any film. It's terrible. It's a disgrace when you hear some of the takes they have. Good luck to Kyle this year. Hopefully the man can take us to the playoffs, but bring back Cam. Plain and simple. Bring back Cam to Carolina. He deserves it. He's probably going to go down as the greatest, if not one of the 5 greatest Panthers of all time. Definitely the greatest Panther quarterback of all time. So I'm with Cam, baby. You better believe that. I'm with Cam. I'm not so cool with the hats. I can't pull them off, but he can. He does what he does. So Cam Newton, I hope to see you back in 2020. Heal that foot, heal that shoulder, and we'll go win some games, baby. We could go win some games, but I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to see if I do a few more of these little rants. Not as biased as this one, but I had to represent today, okay? I had to represent today for the man, the myth, the legend, Cameron Superman motherfucking Newton. Thank you.